Ladies and gentlemen, Diamond Podcasting Productions presents The Shoot, a pro wrestling podcast, with your hosts, Dan Burke and Drew McKenzie.
We are at that time of year where WrestleMania is no longer on the horizon, or WrestleMania is no longer, it's in our rearview mirror. The fallout is over. Now we have to do what is called post-mania. Kind of, I don't know if it's a depression or if it's I guess you can call it like a post-mania, like fatigue or something for some people.
Postmortem.
Postmortem. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to The Shoot, the official podcast of Pro Wrestling World Talks. I am your host, Daniel Burke, and of course, my co-host, Mac. How are you this evening, my sir?
I'm exhausted. That's honestly why I called it a postmortem, because I feel like the last week and a half, 2 weeks since the last show has just been like very low-key wrestling news, even though there's been a lot of news this past week, not so much related to wrestling, but injuries and other things, but it's been a week, man. It really has.
Yes, I am, as last week, my wonderful fiance had pointed out that she was battling a cold on top of her menstrual cycle. Secondly, I somehow now had decided that that germ infestation of a cold has somehow come down to me. I have spent the last 2 days home sick. I actually had a fever last night, which I have had COVID 3 times and did not have a fever once, but this little buggy cold caused me to have a fever last night, which pretty much made my decision of going to work today completely non-existent. It was not going to happen. Luckily, I was able to get some chicken rice soup tonight from my favorite Chinese joint, so that did take away some of the congestion. It just seems to have some type of magic formula in it. So much vegetables and green stuff they just put in that, where it's just like it somehow clears the fog out of it, and is able to take the congestion and the head fog completely out of it. Sometimes. We are also entering the weekend of the unofficial great holiday of 420.
Yeah.
For you people that, for you naughty people out there that smoke cannabis, how dare all of you? Like, I don't understand.
Won't somebody please think of the children?
Think of the children! I don't understand why people out there smoke cannabis. There's no reason for it on this planet. It just, I don't get it. I don't get why everyone is just like it should be banned. Oh, you're kidding, folks. You know who you're talking to. You're talking to a guy who's got red eyes every time he's on this program. So,
I was going to say, I know at this point that, like, especially those that have seen us on The Shoot and now watch us, obviously, The Shoot and Pro Wrestling World Talks on Spotify, every time that Dan covers his camera, you can make a safe bet he's lighting up.
Yes, it's a very safe bet, which I will be looking at dispensaries this weekend to see who has some deals on 420. 420 on a Saturday, folks. That is fantastic. Tremendous because who wants to go to work on that day, especially if you have a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. If you work in retail, I'm sorry, but you know.
Well, it's a Saturday, so for those that do have those Monday through Friday 9 to 5s.
It's perfect.
Yeah, buddy.
It's literally perfect. And then I'm sure dispensaries in the state of Massachusetts or wherever you are that's legal is also, I hope everybody is able to get some good deals, enjoy yourself. As we have talked about many times in this program, it's not a secret here, folks. All right. if I am covering my camera and I put myself on mute, it is because I am taking a hit from my Trailer Park Boys bong. So that's all you need to know on that front. Also on 420, I don't know if my folks watch this, but it needs to be said that they are celebrating this weekend their 50th wedding anniversary. So that needs especially to be celebrated in a time in this country and also the world where divorce rates, just for some marriages to make it 20, some, and I was married previously, and that went about 2.5 years, where my folks, it's like, that's a long time. Like I think if I don't know the exact numbers because I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, 5 years is 10%. So I think my marriage was about 5% of what theirs was, which is completely astronomical to think of, because 2.5 years in marriage, I thought I was like, wow, this is like 50 years. But that, I guess, when things are going bad, that's what it feels like. And if somehow she is listening, I want to make it known that our marriage was shitty. I'm not saying that you were, okay? Thank you. But congratulations.
That's the show, folks.
Yes, exactly. But congratulations to my parents on 50 years of marriage. If they're listening, love you both. That is a phenomenal milestone. And I'll see you on breakfast on Sunday. Or lunch, for that matter. So, the week in wrestling this past week started on Monday with the news that we found out about on Monday afternoon that Rhea Ripley had suffered an injury the previous Monday Night Raw in the backstage attack by Liv Morgan, and it was not kayfabe. And Rhea Ripley had to forfeit the Raw Women's Championship.
Actually,
and
you
now,
know what I just forgot? We forgot about us on SmackDown, too.
We did forget about SmackDown.
All right,
But,
we'll go through Raw first.
I kind of wanted to start off with kind of the major event of the week, because
No, I agree.
this is a very significant event in the sense that Rhea Ripley now, the same championship that we were debating, okay, if Becky Lynch is going to, if she loses to Becky Lynch now, where does she go from here? Well, now it's the DL, the disabled list. She is going to be out now. I'm hearing at least until SummerSlam, possibly. It could be longer, but which is not bad. If you're out for 3 or 4 months, that's actually, it's not terrible. Which, if also we've looked at the way that some people have defended their championships with Roman and such, you could make the argument that she didn't have to forfeit the championship. You can make that argument and just say that she was hurt and that she'll be back at the Royal at SummerSlam, and she'll be able to defend it then. However, Rhea Ripley is at a point where she is probably going to come back as a babyface.
Probably.
Because she is into that point of her career now and a point of popularity where even if she's a heel, she's going to get cheered. And why go against the grain at that point? If she's going to be a babyface, if people are going to cheer her no matter what, just make her a fucking babyface. And now Liv Morgan can become a real top player, because I've always liked Liv. I love Liv Morgan. I felt like she's always had the determination, and also she's wanted to be in this industry from day one. I like people like that. I like talent like that are major fans, that maybe aren't the best athlete, maybe are, but at the same time, they have charisma, they have other abilities to get themselves over, And that's what she's been able to do. Now, she's the top heel in the company, and she didn't even do it. She didn't even do anything really to do it. It was a complete freak accident. But now, she's set. Her trajectory right now is set. She can now, for the next 4 months, be like, look what I did to Rhea. Even though it was a complete freak accident.
Yeah.
And Stan Hansen did it with Bruno Sammartino when Sammartino got his neck broken. And it was on a body slam. It wasn't a lariat. But Stan was able to build his whole career with using the lariat and saying that he broke Bruno's neck. This is the same situation now with Liv Morgan. Real life injuries in a complete freak accident, and you're able to turn it into a positive. Because now for the next 3 to 4 months, all Liv Morgan has to do is win the title and just mock her and just completely do everything she can to drive people crazy for the next 3 to 4 months. The only person I feel that's affected by this is Dominic Mysterio. But that's it. Because he's not going to have Rhea around to kind of be the beacon of hope to try to be able to get this kid some more hate. Even though he can pretty much stand on his own and not have Rhea involved, and people are still going to boo his ass. So, I don't know if this might negatively affect some Judgment Day plans. I don't know what the plan is for Judgment Day. I still smell a breakup concerning the fact that, Damian Priest is the world heavyweight champion.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the specifics are on that. Speaking of championships also, because we were going to mention SmackDown, which we forgot to, LA Knight and AJ Styles both won triple threat matches, and they are going to face off on SmackDown, which we will review next week, because it'll be this week's SmackDown, and the winner of that will challenge Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Championship. They have decided to, and it is officially now on WWE.com as far as championships history is concerned, that the undisputed WWE Championship, they have dropped Universal. It is now the undisputed WWE Championship. It'll be LA Knight or AJ Styles challenging Cody Rhodes at Backlash that will be held in Paris.
So I just have to throw this out there. I wonder who's going to win that match. AJ Styles.
It's going to be AJ, and which is 100%. Fine.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. They've never 100%. Fought each other. They've both been NWA and WWE champions. So
yes.
I think this is natural progression, honestly. You have two guys that have won those two belts.
And I think Ring of Honor world champions, if I'm not mistaken either.
I believe you're right. You're right. And two guys that have never fought each other. So this is big. And listen,
very big.
Ellie and I, they never fought each other either, him and Cody. But AJ is the heel right now. You're going to give it to the heel guy right now. And again, it builds up the mystique because of those factors that we just talked about. So it's going to be AJ. It's just going to be AJ.
Both former members of Bullet Club.
Yep.
There's a lot of and also AJ has fought Dusty Rhodes when he was in TNA Wrestling. So there's a lot of history there. And also the fact that we're talking about two of probably the best in-ring performers in the whole company, if not professional wrestling right now. AJ Styles, some people might say he's lost a step. He's not AJ Styles of 10, 15 years ago, but he's still fucking AJ Styles.
Dude, it's what, 46, 47? Something
yes.
like that? I mean, come on.
Yeah, and he's in great shape. And I think also with Cody, you have these two guys now this is going to be killer. The match is going to be killer. It is going to be great. I'm extremely excited for it. And I know we're already thinking, you guys are writing off LA Knight. It's like, no, I just don't think LA.
No, we're 100% not doing that. 100%.
Not by any means.
LA Knight is still going to be a player for a couple of years, I feel like.
Yes.
And at some point, I believe at least for a while, he will hold that title. Whether it be that one or the World Heavyweight title. You got to remember the draft is coming up in the end of the month, a couple
Correct.
weeks. So you got to remember that, number one. Cody is now officially listed on the SmackDown roster. So that's another thing to kind of play into this.
Yes.
I would, however, be shocked if he doesn't end up back on Monday nights either this year or next year with that Netflix deal.
Yes.
And you can make the argument of where LA Knight could end up, but I see him as the World Heavyweight Champion, at least for right now, right? Because I don't think they're going to put him and Cody in a match right now.
No, I don't think so. I think it's too much. Well, the reason why you don't want to do it now is because of the fact that then you're putting up two faces against your new face of the company.
Yep.
And it's going to be a face versus face contest right away. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do it. You have to. You have to be able to, because then you're going to divide the audience.
Yep.
And you don't want that. And plus, you're also going to be in an overseas pay-per-view, PLE. So they're there to see Cody. They're going to be paying to see Cody. Cody is on the poster.
For back
not saying that it's going to be a slam dunk, because I think the match is going to be extremely competitive. But Cody's not going to lose the strap as first championship on a. It's not going to happen.
No.
Not
if he was a
gonna happen.
champion before, you can make the argument that sure, but
Yes.
his very first, world or WWE, whatever you want to call it, title reign, no, 100%, he's not giving that up right away.
Right. And for all the people also that's been kind of knocking, AJ Styles hasn't really been afflicted. Look, we've said it here 100,000 times. AJ Styles could lose a lot, but still also be factored into a championship. Man, this is exactly what we've said. And AJ is now factored in. And
he's a shoe-in either way.
Absolutely.
He's got the talent.
He's earned that credibility.
That too.
So I'm not really surprised by any of it. I'm fully expecting. And AJ losing again doesn't hurt him because he's AJ Styles. There's certain guys that can take losses, and it's like, okay, they're credible. They're not. It really doesn't hurt their booking position because they can challenge for a title really at any point. AJ's in that category.
100%. Absolutely.
Another thing that happened on SmackDown was Solo Sikoa kicked out Jimmy Uso out of the Bloodline, and now has gotten a new member with a debuting Tama Tonga from New Japan Pro Wrestling, who was part of Guerrillas of Destiny, and which was also an affiliate of the Bullet Club. So he is now in WWE. I fully expect in the next month or two, or down the line, Jacob Fatu to be joining that group to join up with Solo Sikoa.
Yeah, rumor has he's been signed for a while too.
What this is probably going to set up is going to set up a Bloodline Civil War, which will either take place at SummerSlam or at Survivor Series in a War Games matchup, or both. And I fully expect it's going to be Solo, Tama, and Jacob Fatu against Jimmy, Jey Uso, and Roman Reigns, a face bloodline versus a heel bloodline. The question is, who is Paul Heyman going to align himself with? And it's going to be kind of like Paul Heyman on a pole match, right? Is this how it's going to be? But yeah, that's kind of, I think, the only question that I have really coming into this. But this is going to be Roman Reigns as a babyface coming back, which I fully expect Roman Reigns at this point will probably be fully embraced as a top babyface. And it's pretty much he's not going to have to change anything.
No, he doesn't.
At all. Nothing in his presentation. But he's going to come back to a roaring babyface reaction. And like as soon as he comes back and starts beating up the heel bloodline, that place is going to go absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Because and this also gets Jimmy in a direction. It gets Jay in a direction, even though Jay will talk about what his plans are coming up at Backlash momentarily. But we wanted to at least give you kind of my own perspective on what I think is going to happen with the Bloodline, but also what happened on SmackDown, at least the major events, to get everybody caught up. Because I forgot to, but the Rhea thing was the first thing I could think of tonight, because it is a major thing, because Rhea is the top female star in the company, if not of all of professional wrestling, and now she's going to be out of action at least until late summer, midsummer. So that's kind of a big
maybe
deal.
after even too. It depends if she's going to need
It
surgery.
Yes,
that's what I've heard. So if she needs surgery, it could be pushed out. Hopefully she doesn't. Hopefully she's going to be back soon. We'll have to see. But you're right. That was one of the bigger things, at least in terms of WWE news. I really got to start integrating more NXT, because apparently there was a pretty good steel cage match the other night with Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams. But of course I missed that one. There's so much going on.
Yes. And apparently Carmelo Hayes bid farewell to NXT. So he will be probably getting called up. Well, no, he probably won't. It will definitely be getting called up to either Raw or SmackDown, probably during the draft.
Yeah,
we're kind of in that. We're kind of in that patch right now, because we have a pay-per-view coming up this weekend for AEW, and then next weekend I believe is the start of the draft. And then I think the weekend after that is Backlash. So it is kind of the gap between this and the draft is going to be kind of, even though Triple H has somehow been able to really put together some really entertaining stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
For especially what happened on Raw, because so many moving parts. A new tag team championship also has been minted. The
World Tag Team Champions.
They have finally decided to drop the brand specific championship idea, which I understood why they did it, but for tag team, it also kind of it hurts you, because it's like you have now this, you know what I'm saying? It's like it kind of handcuffs you to the brand. And let's say with AEW, if they have to leave Turner Networks, then their mid-card titles have to change from TNT to TBS. They have to change those over to something different.
It's not just that. It's we talked about this before, where it's like it's also the fact that if they switch brands, so to speak, are they going to do those awkward here's the title thing again? We all saw how well that worked with Becky and Charlotte.
Oh, yes. Real life heat.
Yeah.
That's what that caused. But yeah, I feel like that this, and a lot of people are complaining about the Circle Championships, which, to be quite honest, the Circle center plates, to be quite honest, I don't think it really matters.
I don't care.
I don't care either. As long as, to me, it's all about the plate design. Sometimes the strap color, but not so much. I'm usually someone I like Steve Austin when he had like the snakeskin design on his belt. That was cool as shit.
Yeah.
And I remember Taz when he had the ECW title, he had the orange strap. I like that stuff. I like the customization that some guys have been able to do with their titles, but also, at the same time, it really doesn't matter. As long as the center plate and the side plates look good, and it's a good kind of plate to strap color combination. Like when that Universal Championship came out and it was like the red strap, that was hideous.
I didn't like the red either. Yeah, that's
I did like the blue.
I was thinking about.
I did like the blue. The blue was sick. But the red, I was just like, can you get another color? But then when it moved to when it moved to SmackDown and it had the blue strap, I thought it was great. But that was part of kind of the growing pains with championships sometimes, because it is a trademark. It is a trademark championship that it's going to have the logo ever present, and it's going to be something that it's kind of like a token trophy type deal that people are going to carry around, and that's your brand. So I feel like the designs sometimes have gotten bland. Like the Intercontinental Championship,
I don't like it.
I don't like the current design. I haven't liked it for years. I liked it when it was the white with the old type of design logo that Cody Rhodes when he was
when he brought it back. Yeah,
when he brought it back, I thought that was sick. But I haven't liked the newer design. I hope they redesign it. The U.S. title, I'm okay with.
Nah, I don't like it. I don't hate it, but I don't like it either.
I don't hate it.
I miss like the one they had around Cena's era, where it actually had like colors of the flag and stuff.
Not the spinner one.
Not the spinner one, no. Right,
yes.
The one right before it.
Yes, no, I know what you meant.
Yeah. That's why I said around Cena.
No, I agree. I feel like that's the better design. I really didn't feel like they needed to change. The Intercontinental U.S. titles, I really didn't think needed to change, really a design change at all. But I understand sometimes you're going to be able to.
Well, they want to like freshen them up and update them, and listen, I'm all for that in some cases, but
yeah, but you don't change you don't change up like the Commissioner's Trophy for Major League Baseball, the NBA, the NFL, and like NHL. Like, I don't see anybody writing a fucking petition to just be like, well, the Stanley Cup has to be a different design. No one would ever say that. It's a perfect championship.
But I mean, we're talking about, end of the year, like you won it all championship versus 2 mid-card championships.
No, I know. But still, it's like it is still something you fight for. Like,
true,
the WWE Championship, I think is sick. I like the design of it. I even like the design of the World Heavyweight Championship. I like the design of these belts. Like, I can't really sit here and complain about any of them. It will be interesting to see what they do with SmackDown. What their new belts are going to look like, if there's going to be something differentiated, or if they're going to be more similar to
the undisputed belts.
The undisputed belts. I don't know. Like, I hope that
as soon as those came out, I'm sorry I had to cut you off, but as soon as those tag team championships came out for the World Tag Team Championships, I was like, oh, great, okay. We're just going to copy and paste everything on this show to look the same. And they're like, oh, okay. I guess we'll find out Friday if they're going to do the exact same thing for the WWE Tag Team Champions. And it's just, that's the only thing I kind of like about. But
it's better than like Raw and SmackDown, though. Like, anything is better than those. Like that whole tired concept. So I'm all for it. It'll be interesting to see what they look like as far as design is concerned. Speaking of champions, they're already turning against Cody. It hasn't even been 10 days, and it's already like the people are like, oh my god.
So that's actually the reason I put him on the slide.
Yes,
that was the only reason I put him on the slide, because not only was he on SmackDown, he was also on Raw. Which I thought the segment with him and Jey Uso was pretty funny.
Yes.
Until we yeet again. But man, people are just turning in droves at this point on Cody. And it's almost to the point where I feel kind of bad for the guy. It's like, dude has been champion for a little bit over a week now, and just like everybody's turning. It's like, and this is why I said it was kind of like a post-mortem almost, because, it's hard to kind of sit there and be like, oh, he sucks. It's like, no, it's just they don't know what to do with him until Backlash. He doesn't have a defined,
or the
opponent.
Draft.
Or the draft.
There's no story for him yet.
Exactly.
The man finished the story. It's like he's still kind of, look, Stephen King.
Oh, jeez.
Doesn't write a novel, and then 10 days after writing his bestseller, people are just like, you got to write another one. It's like, it takes time. You got to send it to an editor. Then there's publishing. Like, it might take another year before he gets a book out. Look, people have to wait and wait this shit out. But I understand also the way that social media is and the way that the fan base is. We are never, ever, ever going to get a 100% unanimous, definitive champion in our lifetime again. There is always going to be a group that sit there and says, the current guy sucks.
Yeah.
It's always going to exist because of social media. People talk about in the Hulkamania era, there was a backlash and people were tiring of him in 1991. I was at the live shows. I was at the first event that I was ever at. Hulk Hogan was main eventing. Nobody booed Hogan. It was in 1991. I was there. Nobody was booing him. And then 92 Rumble. When he got thrown out, there were people cheering. I was like, okay. You noticed little things. But it wasn't like a complete backlash. It wasn't like in 2005 or 2006 when John Cena would come out and 80% of the building would be booing his ass.
Yep. And I would be doing it at home.
And they were doing that with Roman Reigns too 10 years later.
Yeah.
It's never going to get to that point again. It's never going to be that way. It's never going to be unanimous. And I've accepted that. I've understood it. I think the only time it's ever been unanimous, the last time it's ever really been unanimous is when Austin was on top. Between like 98 and 99. That was the only time in history when it was just like unanimous. We love this fucking guy. And maybe Rock in 2000.
The only time it wasn't unanimous with Steve Austin was when he turned heel.
That was it.
Yeah.
But 98, 99, no one was
100%.
complaining about him being champion. No one.
No, nobody did.
And they could have put him up against anybody. It didn't fucking matter. And Cody is in the Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels kind of category of probably being one of the better workers in the company that's the champion. So his in-ring work, I think, is going to be exceptional. And I think he's going to be able to captivate an audience with that. But that's the thing with wrestling fans, man. It's like they don't let this shit play out. And we have a guy now that had just completed this unbelievable story arc. One of the best in pro wrestling history. One of the best in company history. One of the most successful WrestleManias of all time. And the mainstream audience, because they're still selling buildings out, folks. And let's face it, he's the champion. But you have to be patient. My God, the draft is next weekend. The pay-per-view is still 2 weeks out. You have to kind of let things... Jeez. Even when you go to a restaurant or like a fast food joint, you still got to wait 10 minutes. The fuck? Really? You want this instant shit? It's not going to happen.
Listen.
Like, it's just not.
I'll kind of equate it to this, right? So everybody that Roman Reigns has fought this past year and even the year before was literally put in front of him. They're put in front of him. You can build the story that way. It's very easy, but then he doesn't have to do much because he doesn't have to really build the promo. He can come in and do his shtick, I'll call it for a minute, and that's all he needs to do. And he can do it against anybody, and he has. I mean, he was gold. And I will say this, just because it popped in my head with Sheamus returning this past week on Raw, which people have been also shitting on him about, as I'm sure we've seen on social media as well. But when Sheamus' mic cut out before Survivor Series 2 years ago, Roman took it and ran with it. He's like, you can't even get the mic to work. That's not what you're going to get with Cody Rhodes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But here's the thing. Right now, is the complete difference. Cody has nobody in front of him right now. Nobody. He has to wait at least 2 weeks, being this past week and going into tomorrow night, because we're recording on a Thursday, into SmackDown to see who he's going to be facing. He doesn't know yet. And then, as Dan said, we also have the draft. We don't know where he's going to end up, who he's going to end up with. He might end up with Solo and Tonga in the sense that he has to worry about them. And Dan's 100% right with what he said earlier, that, yeah, it's 100%, whether it's Survivor Series or something else, going to be a good bloodline versus a bad bloodline. It's 100% trending in that direction. And you can quote us on it now, because it's definitely where it's going to go. But at the end of the day, the other things that they rag on Cody about isn't even just the fact that he's, like, bland. Well, of course he's bland right now. His promos aren't going anywhere because they're not directed at anybody. I do like the from undesirable to undeniable to undisputed. I think that that's a good progression. Yes. I think that's a great finalizing a promo. But it's misdirected at the moment because, again, he's not really talking to anybody. He's just talking, period. But the one thing that I think is kind of funny that people are talking about is Cody doesn't know how to hold a title. It's like, who gives a fuck how the guy holds the belt?
Meanwhile, there's side-by-sides of Harley Race and Ric Flair doing and Dusty Rhodes doing the exact
Dude, look at how Alexa Bliss used to hold it up.
Exactly.
Like, he's putting a unique spin on it. He's holding it almost like a briefcase, like a fucking trophy. And it is a fucking trophy.
I'm surprised he doesn't have a Halliburton like for the thing, and he's walking around with it handcuffed to him. I'm surprised he's not doing that like his old man did and Flair did.
Yeah.
You know, and I love what Alexa Bliss, the way she used to hold the belt. No problem whatsoever. You have to be able to have a knee, because I never saw any woman do that or anybody or male talent ever do that either. Where I was just like, holy shit. I like the unique twists.
Absolutely.
But, you know, you don't shut the fuck up. Like, you're going to know. You're going to hold the belt in your life, except you're the ones that you got in your fucking bedroom, asshole.
You have like those. Do you remember the one I used to have in college, the little toy one? They probably have those ones.
I always love it when people show me their like toy belts. Like they'll have I've seen them, right? Where I go to somebody's house and like, hey, look, it's the Smoking Skull, the toy one hanging up in my garage. And I just look at them and I just say, oh, let me show you something.
Yeah, seriously. I feel like we could just dedicate a full show of you and wrestling memorabilia. If not more than one. But
we could just do. It's just. I feel like we're gonna have to do it
at some point.
We're gonna have to do like a show at some point of just me going through stuff. Like just an entire episode of me going through my 8x10 collection. People will be like, "Holy shit!" Because I have actually two separate. Like I have my room, and then I have what I call is the Grail trunk, where that's where a lot of, and that's actually in my bedroom.
Storage, isn't it? Oh, okay,
yeah, no, it's in my bedroom. Like that's the thing of, if in case there's ever a fire, that's coming with me. I am dragging that at, like it's like I'm going to grab the cats, I'm going to make sure stuff is out, and then I'm going in and grabbing this trunk.
Dan, you are going to just burn alive with all the shit you were trying to get out of there. Dude.
Oh, I know.
Whereas Dan, he died. Why?
He's died in the fire. Why?
Trying to save all his shit.
Why is he doing this?
I just know that right now, somewhere, there's going to be a home insurance salesman listening to the show trying to make you a deal down the road. Try to sell you as the most expensive insurance. So how much would you like to insure all your toys for? $1 million.
I wouldn't say it's $1 million. I would say it's I would say it's more closer to.
I would say it's a couple hundred.
Maybe.
If not close to 100, I would say it's something. So we're just going to have to look up like 40-Year-Old Virgin at one point and see what he sold all those toys for, and then we'll equate that to you.
Well, plus I don't want anybody looking up my like ISP or my.
I know that's why
they're tracking.
That's why I
Where the fuck
stopped.
you living?
That's why I stopped. I understood the vague pig Latin you were trying to dump out there, and that's why I stopped.
No. It's fine. Because look, it's number one. There's people who work from home in this household, so there's always someone here.
True.
So someone trying to think that it's just like, oh, this is being easy. No, it won't. And also, I live in a building I have like a right of way, so it's like you'd have to cross into my neighbor's like driveway to be, yeah. So it would be extremely difficult for people to even try to kind of to do it. So I'm not concerned from that perspective. But yeah,
I'll pay for your Ring doorbell.
And it's just outside the door. Like, it's just like I have a slot for it. It's like I'll put like an Undertaker mask, and the eye of the Undertaker mask will be in the camera.
Oh man,
who goes there?
Have like the Addams Family theme playing or something like that. Ring the doorbell.
Thing comes out, and it's just like.
Yeah, like those candy jar things they have too.
Yes,
you touch it, the hand goes down and whacks you. Yeah,
I do want to get an LED sign for outside of it. I maybe the Ghostbusters one, like the old the signage.
Yep.
Because I kind of just want to have it just to make it look cool, to kind of get like it, but also I have to do what the boss says, because I have an entire room to myself, but then I also have to coexist in other rooms.
Well said. Well said.
That's the best way. So it depends what I think. Ghostbusters, that sign though, the little neon one, I could probably pass off and be like, well, it's to just let people know that it's headquarters.
Oh my god, you need the Beetlejuice one.
Yes,
that's what you need. Like with
no,
all the
actually,
arrows pointing to it.
She would definitely approve that.
Yeah.
That would not be. That would be the easiest approval ever. She'd be like, "Yeah, that's great. All right, cool.
Let's do it. Let's do it."
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe if it was the Batman signal from Batman, the Tim Burton film, she'd also approve that. Like that could probably also get approved.
Ooh, man.
Probably. I'd say it's a safe bet. I would say it would be.
Did I tell you she liked the Maximum Overdrive mug?
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh,
I got her the Maximum Overdrive mug, and she marked out. Like, she because it came in a box, and she's just like, tell me it's the truck. Tell me it's the fucking truck.
Oh my god, that's great.
So I was like, yes, Maximum Overdrive mug wins. Telling you folks, sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes you're able to get away with someone that has a childlike mind like yourself. Like,
Ooh, man.
So to continue with Raw a little bit, Sami Zayn defeated Chad Gable, and then Chad Gable promptly turned heel in Montreal.
Yeah, you called it. I thought they might have waited a week, and it did seem like they were going to at first, and then nope, they did not wait the week. I love how they did this, and so basically they close out the show with him getting an ankle lock on the top rope. Sammy is hanging over it, and there goes Dan. Sammy gets in the ankle lock from Chad Gable while he's hanging over the ropes, and it's right in the direction of his wife, who was in attendance since it was in Montreal. And that's how they close it out. And I was like, wow, that just kicked ass. I'm a little surprised just because it seems like Chad's been almost out of Alpha Academy at this point. They really have not paired him back up with them yet, which is a little bit interesting. But all in all, I mean, I think heel Chad Gable is not a bad direction. No. Especially since he's been, challenging for that Intercontinental title for months at this point now, whether it be Gunther, whether it be Sami Zayn now, and just keeps coming up short. Could be the terror of the mid card. I don't know.
Well, I think him as a heel would probably. He also might bring in Kurt Angle as like his manager for a time being or something, and kind of help him that. I don't know. Like, kind of. Even though I think he's a strong enough character at this point, because let's face it, when they kind of put this thing together with him and Otis, especially when Triple H took over as Booker, they got fucking over. Like, they really did. They really took a situation that I think a lot of guys probably would have faltered in, and he was able to do it. And got it over, especially with the whole swoosh thing. As annoying as it could. But also he's extremely talented. He's an extremely talented performer, former Olympic credentials, amateur credentials. So I think that he can make him. I think the only thing that's hurt him is his. I hate to sound like that asshole. Oh, he's so tiny. His height does hurt him a little, but also I don't think that matters really anymore. To be quite honest, I think if you have the talent enough. So, plus also, it was time for Gunther to move on, which really that could be the next feud for Cody too. Gunther goes over to SmackDown and starts chasing Cody. Well, again, Gunther wins that Money in the Bank.
We got to factor in the draft. So, I mean, Cody could move, he could stay. It could go any which way. But regardless, we talked about LA Knight potentially being World Heavyweight Champion at some point because you can't really challenge Cody's two faces. You're right. I mean, that could be something where some babyface gets the World Heavyweight title and then that's how it goes down. Or whatever scenario there. But yeah, Gunther could challenge anybody at this point, whether it is Cody, whether it is, I don't think it's to be Damian Priest, but, say it's Jey Uso, because who knows? It really could go down in any way. So I would not be surprised, though, as I said before, and I've been saying it for a few weeks now since Mania, I look to see him in the main event scene for sure.
Oh, without question. I feel like him losing that title only means that he's going to be moving up to the main event scene.
Absolutely.
Only because I wouldn't have had him lose that championship unless you were moving him to the main event scene.
100%. Right.
That would be my logic. So, who knows? But I think that for Gunther, especially too with him being absent from TV, I also think is a smart move. It's like kind of put him out of sight, out of mind right now, and let people not forget about him. But all of a sudden, people are like, "Oh shit, I forgot he's here," and then have him just show up on whatever show that he's going to get drafted to and challenge for the top title. Plus, they got a show in Germany coming up.
I mean, listen, he's going to come back like Steve Austin and like Triple H and just come out at some random tag team match and just destroy everybody in the ring.
Oh, yeah.
That's how you bring him back, in my opinion.
You bring him back, or you just have him destroy like the top babyface,
or that,
that is underneath like your babyface world champion. That's how you, I think, get him to just be, or if you want to have him go up against like Jey Uso, and then Jey Uso, that's the reason why Damian Priest wins, is because Gunther, I don't know. There's so many ways you can bring him back, but obviously that he's kind of the Jaws swimming in the water scenario. He's the shark out there. He's there. You don't know when he's going to strike, but he's coming. And as soon as blood is in the water, he's going to be there for sure.
I think that's natural progression for me, though. Like, I really do think that what you said is just 100% accurate, where it's like, you know he's there, but you haven't seen him in a while, and then he's going to make this very strong comeback, and whether it be, a bunch of guys in the ring, whether it be your top babyface, as you said, he's going to come out and destroy somebody. And it's going to be a huge reaction because nobody's going to expect him to come back at that time. And truthfully, I can't wait. He deserves the chance. What he did with the Intercontinental title, he deserves to be in that main event scene.
So, we touched on the Rhea Ripley situation, and I guess to kind of close out my discussion for Raw for this week, where do you see them going with the women's championship? Do you think they're going to give it do a tournament and they're going to give it to Liv right away, or they're going to have? Because that would be, I think, my only kind of. Because Liv right now, because we don't know what Becky's situation is, Liv is really the only person on Raw as far as women is concerned. Unless, of course, the draft. The draft is looming. I'm wondering if the decisions are going to be made before the draft or after the draft. Because Liv, I feel like, is the only person that should have the championship, because when Rhea gets back, she's going to want to kill her to get the belt back.
Oh, man. So first of all, let me kind of segue for just a quick second. Just very quickly. I was almost thinking they would do something that other promotions do and have an interim women's world champion. And just absolutely fuck the lineage.
I don't know. We'll go ask the CEO what they're going to do.
Oh, we can talk about that later. Yeah. Nice hand gestures, bud. Anyways, I'm glad they didn't, though. You could have, but I wouldn't have liked it, because then it's just a big asterisk. I really do believe that she was going to hold that belt for a while. If she broke, male belt records, I wouldn't have been disappointed at all.
Right.
And I just wouldn't have. She's just so dominating in the ring. To your point, though, I think they could either do a battle royal, which I don't see happening. I feel like it's going to be a tournament because what else is new? Or they could do a gigantic ladder match, but I feel like with Money in the Bank coming up fairly soon, I believe, I don't think they're going to do that. It's hard to say, but I almost don't want them to give it to Liv right now. It's too easy that way.
Yeah.
And listen, I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I absolutely think she does. She's been a workhorse when she is there, when she's healthy. And I don't blame her for, her shoulder issues. I don't blame her for Rhea's shoulder issue either, because let's be real, that was a freak accident. Had nothing to do with the chair, it had to do with how she fell against the wall.
Right.
And with the other stuff and who's on the roster and everything else, I've said this to you. SmackDown, that women's roster is so stacked compared to Raw's. It's almost sad.
They need to move some talent over there, and they need to move some talent over there fast.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why it was so lackluster was because, well, we're just going to keep Rhea as champion anyway, so we don't want to have really our strong people get really beat, so we'll just put them over on SmackDown, which that worked. But now that Rhea's out of the picture for the next 3 to 4 months, you're going to have somewhat of a comparable division over there, because Rhea's not going to dominate people.
Well, part of that is going to be figured out in the draft, I would say, number one. But the issue is that how then do you work this into Backlash? Because I don't think they're going to be ready for that. Unless they go into Backlash with doing a tournament there, which I don't think is going to be a good idea. Or if you have it as a Battle Royal, okay. Or if you have it as a ladder match, okay.
Or the triple threat match idea that they've done for SmackDown last week. I mean, that's a comparable idea.
So the problem is, again, like if you look at Raw, it doesn't have a very stacked women's roster. I'm just off the top of my head. They have Zoe. They have Shayna Baszler. They have Piper Niven, Nia Jax, Chelsea. I don't remember, but I think they have Caden Carter and Katana Chance. I don't remember if they're on SmackDown or not.
I think they do, actually. I think they're on Raw.
I think they are, but I'm not 100% sure. They have Liv. Becky's up in the air, I would say, because kind of still don't know what the status is there. I don't know about Charlotte at this point. I think Charlotte's still on SmackDown, but I'm not 100% sure about that either at this point.
He's still mending from her ACL tear.
That's true, but I don't know how much time she has left, so that's part of the issue with why I said it at all. But I don't even remember who else they have. You know? So here's my counter offer. You bring up people from NXT, you bring in people from SmackDown, and you have just this huge tournament to do it. Or you do, like I said, and just do some kind of ladder match or battle royal or something, and whoever gets it, gets it. Otherwise, who else do you really have on frickin' Raw?
Not really many.
That's the thing.
It's a kind of, because I understood why you have not a depth in that roster, because you had Rhea there and you're just feeding Rhea. Keep her strong as possible.
Okay, but
so you're gonna put a lot more of not your A+ talent over there. You're gonna have a few people that are A+, but you're not gonna have a lot of A+ talent over there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot Indy and Candice LeRae.
Oh yeah,
but hold on before you go on, because I'm not going to disagree with you on that point. I agree with you, but there's other talent on SmackDown that you could still bring over, right?
No, I agree.
Like you have Maya Yim, who's not going to be a challenge. You have Selena Vega, who already challenged Rhea, and Rhea squashed her, yes. Rightfully so. You have Tiffany Stratton, who is going to be as big as Rhea. I would make that argument. Yes. But she's not there yet anyways. So
3 years from now, she's probably going to be on the same level as Rhea.
Probably less, but that's besides the point.
Yeah.
But, there's other talent that, as I said, you can bring up from NXT. You can bring up Roxanne. She's not going to challenge a Rhea.
No.
I would say nobody in NXT is really going to challenge a Rhea. I'm not saying bring them all up now, but I am saying you could load up the Raw women's roster a little bit by doing so. And sticking Jade and Naomi and Bianca Belair together makes a lot of sense.
It does.
It does, because both very strong black characters, black woman characters. Not only that, they work well together, and Jade and Bianca Belair at some point, probably the next WrestleMania, are going to feud. Like, let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
I think we all see that coming. But for now, it makes sense for them to play as friends, whether it be on screen or in real life too, obviously. I believe that's true. But, again, we're comparing like apples and oranges almost, because you look at the Raw women's roster and you're like, what happened?
Yes.
No,
it's extremely top. It's extremely top heavy, because they only had, it was like Rhea and that was it, and then Becky also, but everybody else at that point was just like, oh. But then you look at SmackDown and it's just like Bayley, Asuka, Bianca, Io Sky, Kairi Sane. It's like you could just list like 6 or 7 girls that could challenge for the championship, and people wouldn't or bat an eye to it. And then on Raw, it's like 2 or 3. It's like, all right, you guys got to kind of, there has to be equal division here. But I understand if you're going to keep Rhea as champion for over a year plus, yeah, you got to feed her a lot of talent that it's not going to really hurt the overall kind of roster and how things are done, because you can't have Bianca Belair lose to Rhea right away. You can't have Bailey go up against Rhea and lose. You can't have Charlotte go up against Rhea. It's just, you kind of got to be different with it. You kind of have to be able to balance it correctly. So I think from that perspective, it kind of explains why Raw's depth for women has been kind of low compared to SmackDown's. But now that with the absence of Rhea, the other women talent now have an opportunity to kind of be able to be like, hey, we could just be as popular as she is, which I think Liv has always been kind of beloved by the audience. Like, no one, I don't think, really has kind of disliked her or really has ever said anything really negative about her.
But you already said it earlier. Maybe that changes now since this happened.
And it's completely not her fault.
It isn't. I agree. But to the average fan and storyline potential, like, are people going to look at that? Like, let's be real. Like, kayfabe is still alive for a lot of people, right?
Yes.
And it's not looked at always as what it is. I'll say it that way on purpose. But, do people kind of look at her now like, in the kayfabe sense of like, this is your fault? Or are they going to be those like us or like our listeners too, let's be real, that high wrestling IQ to say, it's not her fault. Like, I don't care. No.
No, the Liv thing, it's like, look, take this and make it a positive for you. That's the way that I look at this. It's like, this is your opportunity now to really get yourself over. You're going to get your ass kicked because Rhea's going to come back and she's going to tear your ass up. But get yourself over because now this is your opportunity because now everybody's pissed off at you. It's not your fault. Remember that. It's not your fault what happened, but use this to your advantage. Make this into a positive. And that would be my advice to her because this is a chance for her to make some real serious money and to become a real player because then people are going to want to see when Rhea comes back and kick her ass and get her title back. And of course, I'm sure Rhea's already got ideas for when when she makes her return. She could be like, Mommy's back. She could come out with T-shirts, all this stuff.
Mommy's back on top.
Yes, all this merchandise she'll be able to just push out there and sell a bunch more merch checks. Liv Morgan will be able to make some more money from all this. So it's like, girls, this is your chance. Make some real money with this. And I honestly, I truly believe this. This is going to help Rhea more because I think Rhea, it's going to be a natural transition for her to be a baby face after this. And I think it's going to help Liv Morgan because Liv Morgan now is going to kind of be a legend because she's going to be the one that's like, I took Rhea out. Like, I was able to end that. And she's going to be able to become a bigger star because of it. And the sky's the limit. I think you can definitely turn a negative because, it sucks because I love Rhea and Rhea's a great talent and I wanted to see where her championship reign was going to go. But at the same time, I also have to look at it and say, look, it sucks the timing of it, but at the same time, let's turn this into money. Let's turn this into a positive. And the fact, too, that I think Liv, it helps the character because the character she was coming back and trying to take Rhea out. She did what she was supposed to do. So now it's like built-in heat, built-in story right here. She took Rhea out. She gets the championship. And when Rhea comes back, which that's going to happen, Rhea just goes out and destroys her and gets her title back. Or you build a program where, like, that Liv Morgan can win the first match because it could be a simple one-on-one match, and Rhea just goes in, breaks all the rules, gets herself disqualified. Liv walks out with the championship. The next PLE, it's like an Extreme Rules match or something, and Liv gets destroyed. Rhea wins the championship back. You can get a second pay-per-view out of this. No problem whatsoever.
Are you like virtue signaling what happened when Liv is champion?
Kind of.
Because you very specifically mentioned Extreme Rules.
Yes.
Okay. I had a feeling. Let's segue right there for a second. So last time Liv was champion. She defeated Ronda Rousey at Money in the Bank the same night that she had won Money in the Bank to become SmackDown Women's Champion for the first time.
Yes.
And then she promptly lost the same title back to Ronda Rousey at Extreme Rules.
There's a difference here because that booking, now mind you, Rhea
was awful.
It was terrible because of the people because of Ronda Rousey. I hate even talking about her now because she's such an asshole.
Well, she runs her mouth when she just should not be talking about it.
And it's not just the funny part is now it's not just WWE fans that are pissed off at her. The UFC and MMA fans are like, "Fuck you."
It's like all
so
fans,
it's like all of us now we're just sitting around. We're just like, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, good. Ronda Rousey sucks. Yeah, she does.
Yeah, she does.
Like we're all on common ground for once because they hated us when Brock Lesnar came over there and knocked out Randy Couture. They all got pissed off at wrestling fans for a while, but now we're on common ground because we have a common enemy, and it's Ronda Rousey.
All I can think of is Ted too. Yeah, she's our enemy now.
Yeah, exactly.
But you're not wrong. I'll start right there for a second. But the whole thing with her is that it was badly booked, number one.
Yes.
And number two, just focusing on Ronda Rousey for a second. Oh, it should have been booked like Logan Paul. That should have been me. Shut the fuck up.
Oh, God. I have a hard time really sympathizing with people that pretty much come out in a book and say, yeah, I did it for the fat paychecks. It's like, all right, I really don't sympathize with you now because even though I feel bad because she was a huge wrestling fan and now like the couple of years that she worked for the company, she's become bitter. But at the same time, and look, it's not just her fault. But
you're right. You're right, though.
It's not just her fault that she sucked. It was the company's fault. It was the management's fault because, yeah, she should have been brought in a certain way. They should have put her with Paul Heyman. And that would have made it easier because then that would have taken promo. She shouldn't have been out there cutting promos. That's not her strong suit. Just have her go there as like Brock Lesnar. Just go out there, say a few things occasionally, but have somebody go out there. So have Paul Heyman be your mouthpiece and just forget about it. Just worry about the stuff in the ring. But the problem is that the stuff in the ring it wasn't that great to begin with either. And so, sorry, Rhonda, like, you weren't that great. I had high hopes, and I wanted it to be a good run, but you weren't that great. Was it the company's fault? Yes.
Absolutely.
Was it your fault as well? Yes.
Yep.
It was everybody's fault.
Was.
So, but the Liv Morgan, to go back to Liv Morgan, I feel like it's the most sensible booking this time, where that last time was nonsensical. But I feel like this time, it's a built-in story because everybody's going to want to pay to see Liv get her ass kicked because Rhea and get the championship back from Rhea to get the championship back. So that first one, Rhea gets it, and it's a way to make money. Does it piss your audience off in the long run? Yes, but if you're a wrestling fan long enough, sometimes the first one you kind of have to build the anticipation for the rematch.
Right.
That way you can sell it again. And sometimes it's all about doing that. And I feel like that's probably, if I was a betting man, or if I was someone that was writing the story for this, I would say, look, Rhea goes in there, she destroys her, but she loses by disqualification or some type of bullshit. And then next month at Extreme Rules or whatever, Rhea absolutely destroys her again, but she gets away with it and wins the match. Like, or you try to do it. Look, there's several ways you can do it. But in my opinion, you don't do it in just one match. I think you do it in a series or two or three. And you get more out of it, and it helps Liv more. It's the company more. It helps the women's roster more. Everybody gets benefited by it. So,
I don't know if I would do more than one, but I see your point. You would get more out of it. And you could have a second, like, you could have one be like a disqualification or something like that, and then you have the second one with a stipulation, probably. I don't know that I would go more than two. It's just she's gonna destroy her. Like, let's be
Yeah,
real.
exactly.
You know.
No, but I think 2 is probably where I would go. But then there's always but then you could say there's no rubber match needed because the first one was bullshit. So you
Yeah,
could just
exactly.
say, you just need that second one. So that's the way I would do it. And I think that's probably the way that's the direction they're going to go. Like if she comes back at SummerSlam and she loses by disqualification, everybody's just going to be like, "Wait, I've heard this before." Wait,
Actually, what I would do, and I don't, current roster notwithstanding, I would actually have her be champion, have Rhea come back and cost her the title, then you can almost count that as like number one, even though it's not an official match. And Rhea has the upper hand there. Then the first legit match is kind of what we said, where it's just like a BS match and Liv somehow wins, DQ, like whatever the hell. And then you have that next match where Rhea just absolutely destroys her. And then she can go after the person who has the belt at that point. Because she's going to want to come back for Liv Morgan and just, again, kayfabe is a thing apparently. So, that's maybe where you go with that. But I think either direction works. Whether she comes back and just absolutely destroys Liv and takes the title at that point. I mean, no one's going to be disappointed by what happens. I will say one more thing, though, to something that you had kind of mentioned before. Like, does it suck that this happened to Rhea? Absolutely. But we have to remember that Rhea's still young.
yes,
She still has got a very great future ahead of her in professional wrestling.
yes,
And, dude, she might have another title reign that dwarfs a lot of other title reigns. So I'm not too upset just with that knowledge. But it still sucks. Sucks. But hopefully it's a speedy recovery. Hopefully she doesn't need surgery, and just hope it all goes well. And then we'll get her back and go right back to kicking ass.
yeah. I wouldn't say this. I mean, it's a small setback, but I wouldn't say it's the end of the world.
No, definitely
Plus,
not.
like I said, what was going to be, they were going to have a hard time trying to come up with a way to get the belt off her anyways. Like, I felt like that it's like, well, she beat Becky. Well, now what? Here's the now what. So you kind of have everything kind of resolved. Unfortunately, maybe not the way you liked, but at the same time, I think in the end, it's going to be beneficial.
But listen, this might have been a wait for the draft too. We'll never know, of course, but it might have been like, hey, they're going to draft Bianca Belair. They're going to draft Jade Cargill. They're going to draft, anybody else. It could be anybody. And those obviously are top two that I think would give her the biggest challenge. You could make an argument for Tiffany Stratton, but like I said, I think they need to wait at least another year, if not two, on her, and build her character up a little bit more for the main roster audiences. But, again, like, all those could have been in play for the draft. We'll just never know. And now going about it this way, I think that if you're going with Liv, you kind of have to keep this roster light again.
Right.
Because who's there to challenge her now? Like, the biggest threat, I would say, to Liv isn't even Becky Lynch. It's probably not even anybody else except Nia Jax.
Yeah.
So if she could top that mountain, so to speak, I don't see the reason to bring in others. You could maybe bring in Damage Control, but they're all about her size, so it's not a legit real threat either if you think about it. You could bring in, like I said, I don't know if they're on SmackDown or Raw, Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, who are both smaller than her.
Right.
So there's different options here, but if the plan is Liv, they have to keep the Raw women's roster down a little bit.
Right.
And all you can really say to that is you kind of better hope that they have another draft before it goes to Netflix. Because you want to give them primo talent with how much money they're spending on you.
You wonder if that's the plan.
Yeah.
That they're setting up for, where they already have January in mind, or if Netflix might be aware that the first couple of months they're still gonna be tidying things up, because January is kind of when things really start to ramp up. That's when the casual wrestling fans really come back. It's like as soon as Christmas is over, everybody's thinking, oh. Well, actually, it's usually after the national championship game for college football, and then like the end of the NFL postseason, and then the time in between the conference championship and like that there's that gap, and then after the Super Bowl, that's when everybody really starts to come back and focus. So I think that Netflix is aware that around January, that's when things really start to ramp up as far as like getting the audience in. And they might be more forgiving about who's on the roster at that point, as long as the stories are compelling for the 3 months in between. So they might be able to kind of skate at the beginning, with depending how strong the roster is. But also, I think they have made Raw a lot better TV than what SmackDown has been kind of producing in recent months.
Yeah.
Because I think that they're trying to make Raw as strong a property as possible because of the Netflix move. So I think that has already been kind of their thought process now for the last 6 months. And you see it every week on Raw, because Raw has been a lot better. And also you can argue they have been the A show, even though they have been on USA and SmackDown been on Fox, where SmackDown, they're on Fox. That should be technically the A show, but considering Fox is not retaining SmackDown's rights, they're kind of like in a fuck you period. So they can be like, all right, we're just going to do all our good shit on Raw. So, and that's kind of, I think, their thought process, which is why I think they're going to give Raw the absolute best as far as talent and as far as stories are concerned. So I think that's been in their thought process now for a while.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, like they've been partners with USA for years. They're going to continue that partnership when SmackDown moves to USA, and obviously at that point, I believe Raw will have already moved to Netflix. So it's an interesting time in that regard. And then NXT is going to CW,
Yes.
which I never thought I would be tuning in to CW to watch a wrestling show, but apparently that's going to be a thing. But
something's got to replace Supernatural.
just we can just end it right there if you want. I'm gonna go bomb it now. Just blah. Yeah, it's
Vampire Diaries is preempted tonight, but what's WWE NXT?
I mean, I think it kind of fits their motif a little bit, though. You know, with how colorful NXT tends to kind of be, especially. You know, I think it's something that isn't really out of place. It's just, in terms of thinking of the CW and thinking of Supernatural, thank you for that, by the way, that you're kind of like, okay. It's not really out of place. It's just weird. It's just weird. But yeah, I think we spent enough time on Raw. I feel like I said, like the past couple of weeks have just like had this downturn, which is normal. It's normal. It's that after WrestleMania hangover. You know, like last year, you know, Cody lost. He went right into a feud with Brock Lesnar. Roman kind of got written off TV again. Like there was stuff to talk about, but it was still that downturn. You know, like it happens every year. But I think with some of the stories that they're going to produce over the next couple months, I think you and I kind of said it best when we started the show. Like, you just got to wait. You just have to wait a little bit.
Patience is a virtue, my friends.
Yeah.
You just need to be able to relax. You need to be able to just say, we just absorbed one of the greatest WrestleManias ever. So I think that we all need to kind of give them a chance to kind of reset a little bit. Because it's, you don't win the World Series in April. You don't win the Super Bowl in October. And you don't win the NBA championship on Christmas. And you don't win the NFL, and you don't win the Stanley Cup at the Winter Classic. Like, we all need to kind of just take a breath and say, okay, all right, let's give them some time. Let's give them some, it's called good faith. They gave us everything we wanted at WrestleMania. Everything you wanted, they gave you. You have to give them a break. You have to allow them to cook the dinner. You have to let them shop for the groceries as well. Yes, Bill Parcells said. Like, they want you to cook the dinner. They gotta let you shop for some of the groceries.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just from that perspective too, I just want to add, if you think about WrestleMania weekend as a whole, you're talking like 20 plus hours of content. You're talking about from even looking at SmackDown the night before, that goes right over to Peacock for the Hall of Fame. And then you have Stand and Deliver on Saturday. I think you had something else on Saturday. I just completely forgot what it was. Maybe it's just the pre-show. I don't know. Pre-show is 2 hours. The event is another 3 to 4.
Slammy Awards.
Slammy Awards is the next day on Sunday, right? Then you have another 2-hour pre-show. And then another 3 to 4 hours of wrestling. It's a lot of effing content. And then you have the press conferences after both nights, too. It's a lot of content.
You got Raw, which is 3 hours. And you got, it's just, look. And they're about to do a European tour. They're going over to France for the show, for Backlash.
I think they're doing house shows right now, too.
Yeah. Give them a fucking break. I mean, Cody already defended the title on a house show this week.
Yeah.
I mean, Roman Reigns didn't have a title defense, I think, between I'm trying to think, between WrestleMania and like SummerSlam.
I think so, yeah.
So it's been 10 days. The guy's already defended the title at least once. Give him a break. Look, I just, people need to calm down. Everybody needs to calm down. Everybody needs to just take it all in. If you can't do weekly programming for the next couple of weeks, fine. Just tune in at Backlash. If you just want to take a week off in between the draft, and just take a break. Do it. Take a long break. Just sit, relax, and wait for the bread to be baked before you stop bitching. Cody sucks as champion. It's been fucking 10 days.
Oh my god, I know. It's just so awful. It's just gratuitous at this point. How much complaining is going on about it. He doesn't know how to hold the belt. His promos are the same. It's like, yeah, he's not doing any promos right now. He's just talking.
What's he gonna do? Come out and be like, well, you know something, brother, dude.
I got creative control, brother.
That doesn't work for me, brother.
Oh, yeah. It's just, oh, God.
Are they gonna run me over with lawnmowers? Are they gonna
Nah, just your head, bro. Like that massive bald spot right on your dome. I almost feel like we should do final thoughts on this, but since I put it on the slide, I figure we'll talk about it for this week as well. But any thoughts on what is it? Dynamite, Rampage? I don't even know the shows anymore. Dynamite.
Well, the numbers. Last week we talked
to look. Yeah.
Yes. The numbers this week. Last week they were just over. I think it was like 827 or something like this week. This week, the average audience for Dynamite was 7 957.
It's
They came
about
in
157,000 more than I would have thought.
They came in with 917 at the 9 o'clock hour. The Young Bucks had a promo at the 8:30 to 8:45 time slot. They went from 917. By 8:30, they were down to 725. And their main event ended at 665. They did go up for the Will Ospreay and the Claudio matchup at 7. That went up to 742. They were below 700,000 twice on the program. The 9 o'clock hour, that was between the Deonna Purrazzo and Mariah May match at the 9:15 and 9:30 ranking. They went down to 685,000, and then the main event segment, which included the overrun between Swerve and Samoa Joe, that ended at 665. So this week, last week they were in the 700s for their main event, where this week they were in the 665 range.
What was the 9 o'clock hour then, when they had 900 plus?
Well, the 8 o'clock hour was the lead in at 8 o'clock. That was 9:15, 9:17. So that was their lead in.
Oh, so their lead in was 9:17. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
Yes.
I thought you said
so.
Their lead
in at 8 o'clock, of course, which is the Big Bang Theory every week. Their biggest draw. And so by 9 o'clock, they went 9:17 at 8:15. They went to 865. At 8:30, they went down to 725 for the Young Bucks promo, which shows you in the long run. And the Young Bucks match, they went down to 725. And in fact, they have already announced one of the matches, the major matches for Saturday on Collision. So Sunday, it is going to be in the tag team finals between FTR and the Young Bucks, and Okada versus Pac. It's going to be, I think, Okada's first match on paper. No, it might be his pay-per-view debut for AEW. I'm not mistaken.
It is,
I think it is.
Yeah.
And so Okada and Pac are going to face off. So this Saturday on Collision, which is the go-home show for the pay-per-view, it's going to be a trios match between Pac and FTR against Okada and the Young Bucks.
Are you serious?
Dead fucking serious. So they're giving away 2 pay-per-view matches for free in a 6-man match the night before.
The night before, yeah. That's... I know I put the avatar up, but I'm just shaking my head a lot right now. Like, I
threw my headphones in disgust.
Complete
disgust of this company.
I was shaking my head, so I didn't really see.
No.
I can't. I just can't. Like, I remember when they gave the first match with CM Punk and MJF away for free. And I'm like, why are you doing this? Why?
Rematches should always be on free TV. First time matchup should always be on pay-per-view.
1,000,000%.
The only time that I agreed with the only time I'll ever agree,
we talked about this, yeah, with Hogan
was
and
Goldberg and Hogan.
Yeah.
That's the only time. But I understood Bischoff's logic on that. But
in your home office town, you get a lot of execs. Yeah,
exactly.
That's way different.
Yeah, way different. So I got it. So I understood it. He sold it to me on that explanation. But this is
no excuse.
Just no excuse. It's the night before a pay-per-view, and you're just like, I'm going to give away 2 of my... No!
and I mean, listen, like, let's clarify right now. We know WWE does this too. We know that. But it's not the night before the pay-per-view.
Never! But also they've gotten better with it, especially with Triple H.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like where these guys, they never face off with one another until, like Cody and Roman, they didn't touch again until night 1 of WrestleMania this year. Like they had face-to-face offs, but they didn't touch for a year. So they know they knew what to do and to keep people separated and stuff like that. Yes, we've seen FTR in the Young Bucks before. I get all that. And I get the fact that you're Okada and Pac, this is going to be a new thing too, but you don't have you don't do that the night before your fucking pay-per-view when these matches are on your card.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like, I remember War Games this past year is a good example, right? Where you have all these guys that have been matches throughout the effing year, but there is one guy that didn't, and they saved him to the already into the match, and it was Randy Orton.
Exactly.
And has Randy fought some of them in the past? Yeah. Definitely not all those guys, especially in Judgment Day. I think maybe Balor. That was it, really. But at the end of the day, they kept him out. They kept him off TV. They did not have him come out until the match started itself. That was the right booking.
It was. And I feel like that once again, damn it, Tony. It's like, because I don't like coming here and criticizing the guy. I want to be able to come on here and be like, I got good news for you about AEW. But no, it's most of the time me coming on here and just shaking my head because I'm like, how's this make sense?
You know, it's funny. Looking at the slide we have right now, she's right in the middle. And this was apparently another selling point of the evening because, you know, the picture's right there. I hate hearing this because it so annoys me. We'll hear from, and I'm like, oh my god, stop. Stop booking it that way. Stop trying to book it into your show. Just say they're there, not the we'll hear from.
Yeah,
like fucking Kermit, man.
Because they're probably backstage vignettes. I mean, come on,
dude.
Is she even there this week? Like, what the fuck?
I'm gonna read it to you. This is from Bleacher Report because I didn't watch it because I'm at the point where I'm practically refusing after the past couple of weeks that we've talked about this.
Yes.
If you blink, you miss this sentence. So I can only imagine that if you were watching it live, you blink and you miss it. Period. We get a backstage promo from Mercedes Moné after being attacked in the dark, and she put the entire women's division on notice. That's it. That's all it says. You know how many times, Dan, I read through this article to the point where I had to do Control F to see where it was? It's literally one sentence. That's it.
Oh, God.
I couldn't find it. I kept scrolling through this, and I'm just like, where is it? Oh, okay. I'll just do Control F because I'm not finding it. It's... I don't hate this card. Like, just looking at the card itself for Dynamite last night on Wednesday this week, I don't hate it. I don't think it's the best card in the world, obviously, but I don't hate it. But I also don't understand it. Because why is Adam Copeland teaming with Willow Nightingale against Julia Hart and Brody King?
Oh, Christ.
Why? I don't get that.
Well, because Willow's challenging Julia. And then,
I know, but I get that. I get that. But why Adam Copeland? Why is Adam Copeland in a feud now with House of Black? Like, I don't get it.
Well, he probably wants to work with Alistair, so that pretty much that fits his narrative.
God,
he probably
you had your chance, bro.
There's a list of guys that he probably wants to work with, and Alistair's probably at least at the top of that list. And there has been criticism too with Alistair and the fact of that he hasn't been any singles feuds. All he's been doing is trios matches for over a year. So this kind of gets him out of that that pigeonhole that
There's
he's been
so
in.
many things I could say that I'm just going to keep my mouth shut because none of it's appropriate.
No, you could go right ahead.
No, thank you. That's bait. I think you know exactly where I'm going to go with that too, so I'm just going to keep it shut. Yep, you know. I recognize that face. I know. Dude, he could work with Okada though. He could work with Ospreay. And I know it's differing styles, but like, dude, like that would be magical for him to do that. Why does it have to be them? You know?
I wish I knew. I
And
really do.
that's not trying to insult House of Black. Like I think that's a great
No.
stable. But like again, like you think of big names, you think of those guys like a Will Ospreay, like an Okada, and you have a guy who's this grizzled veteran from WWE who's in the new scene, so to speak, even though it's a number two. To go here and have these kind of matches.
Distance number two.
I am aware, and I believe I've
extremely
said that as well.
distant.
You're number two at the bottom of the Tribal Chief's shoe. But yeah, it's just I don't know.
I mean, they had to do a They had to do a setup for 6,500 for a 10,000 seat arena this weekend, but it's not sold out yet.
Oh man.
Look, it again, and I hate, and I know people are probably going to be like, well, all they do is bash AEW. We're not bashing it. All we're saying is that I'm trying to point out the facts here.
Poorly managed. I don't hate the matches. I think some of them don't make sense. And I wouldn't cut you off. I'm sorry, but it's we always talk about this. We always kind of like go back with it. And I know people are just like you guys hate AEW, and then you're just like apologists about it. And it's like because we don't want to shit on them. No. But there's so much shit that they do that doesn't make sense. And if like we've like talked about this on the show, whether it be the shoot, whether it be Pro Wrestling World Talks last week, I think we mentioned it there, whether it be just in passing with each other. Like, I feel like if Tony Khan called either one of us, or both of us for that matter, we'd pick it up and be like, we'll run it for you. Because he's got talented people there.
He does.
And he just doesn't really know what he's doing in terms of the booking aspect or the storyline aspect. And we've talked about this as well before with like the devil aspect and story that went with that. They started just randomly, they ran with it, it was effective, but then they had Adam Cole come out as the devil, which was dumb. So in that regard, it's like there are some that I'm not going to lie, like the guy has decent ideas every blue moon, so to speak, every full moon, maybe, depending on your point of view.
Yes.
But then he doesn't follow through in the best way for the storyline or for the company. And again, like, I don't hate Adam Copeland against House of Black, nor do I hate House of Black against Adam Copeland. What I hate is the fact that there's so many other guys there that would be bigger matches for a guy like Adam Copeland, because let's be realistic, that's not going to be a very big window for Adam Copeland.
No.
It's just not. So if you want to make magic with him, you put him in positions to have, I'm just going to say great matches, because after the weekend, I don't want to talk about star ratings anymore.
Yes. I will say also in closing for AEW, at least my part of it.
Oh, I'm done with it too.
Swerve Strickland has to win the title this weekend. It's not even a debate. If you need to put the title on him, you need to put the title on him now. He's ready. The fans are ready for it to happen. Joe can take the loss. Because Joe is in that category of like an AJ Styles where it's like, oh, he loses. It doesn't, look, you got to go when the iron is hot, especially on a guy like this. And I feel like that he needs to be the champion. I think the fans are ready for it. So if he doesn't win the title, I'll instantly have material for next week. I'll be like, okay. Well, I know what I'm going to be bitching about.
Yeah, it would definitely add to this conversation right now.
Yeah, it would. But yeah, Swerve needs to be champion. If he's not champion in a week's time, folks, you're going to hear about it. You're going to hear about it big time. But yeah, that's it for AEW this week. It's just, yeah.
Well, that is This Week in Wrestling. So the other thing we didn't really discuss at the top of the show that we have on the docket for today is Dan and I finally had some free time. So we watched some documentaries.
Yes. Part of the cold sickness that I've dealt with the last couple of days is the fact that I have had to stay home from work, because when you work for a municipality or an office or something of that nature, the last thing they want, especially now in today's environment with germs and COVID and all that stuff, even if you have a slight head cold, they don't want you coming into the office at all. They prefer you stay home. And so I had a day where literally I watched 4 documentaries in a row. I watched two episodes of Dark Side of the Ring, the Bray Wyatt documentary, and the Roman Reigns biography on A&E. And none of it was dull.
Not at all.
It was all good stuff. The Bray documentary was emotional at times. I did find out a lot of information that I really didn't know. Like, I didn't know he kind of had the amateur background that he did.
Yeah, same.
That, he was state champion at one point in the state of Florida. Didn't know all that. It's just because it was really not something that he did in the ring, especially with his style when he was the Fiend and, the original Bray Wyatt conception. But I did kind of appreciate more also when Triple H at one point said, I think the problem with his character is that in-ring stuff was kind of where it lacked at times. Like, his focus really wasn't on putting together a match. It was everything else that went with it, which was always my biggest criticism with that character.
Right.
And also, too, we're in a different era as far as people want work rate. It's not 1992 where you can have the Papa Shangos and the Undertakers and get away with it, of no selling or a lot of chicanery and voodoo magic and stuff like that. You get away with it back then. Now, like, you have more of a fan base that kind of wants the higher work rates, and they want to see really good matches and that type of stuff. And they don't, like, a lot of Bray's stuff in the ring didn't really translate to what the audience now expects in WWE. And that's no fault of his own. It's just the fact, I think, that the audience has kind of changed over the years. I feel like if Bray Wyatt was in the early 90s, the mid 90s, we'd be talking a lot differently as far as, like, where his placement would be as a WWE superstar, and kind of, because I feel like that he's always a superstar to me. That it's like, okay, he gets hot for a while and then they do something that screws it up, which I don't think Vince got the character. Vince never really understood the concept of the character at all, which I think, which is the reason why when he got cut 2 years ago, back in 2021, that was a Vince McMahon decision, because I think he was just like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, he had nothing for him. I think it was said in the documentary that he had no creative direction at that point, really.
And there was also a thing that he kind of got piggybacked with, just trying to be difficult to work with. And
I want to touch on that real quick, because that's a good point. I don't know if I would say he was difficult to work with in the sense of what a lot of people assume, right? Because sometimes you hear that, it's like, I can't work with them at all, right? And that's a big thing. Whereas I don't think that's really what it was. I think it's more the fact that he had so many ideas, and they mentioned it here too, where he had so many ideas that it was hard to keep him focused. That was why he was difficult to work with. It wasn't that he wouldn't listen to other people. It wasn't that, he wasn't wanting to work with certain people like other people that didn't want to work with him. It's he needed a focus. Almost like, I hate to say it this way, but it's kind of true. It's almost like somebody with ADHD, right? Where it's like they're all over the map. They're a very nice person, they're easy to get along with, but when you tell them to focus on something, they just can't do it.
Right.
And that's Bray Wyatt. I don't think it's difficult to work with in the sense of like he's an asshole, because I know there is that connotation when you say difficult to work with. That's what a lot of people assume, that he's an asshole, he's not going to do anything to help you or anything like that, when that's just not who he was. It's just he just couldn't maintain a focus on one thing.
I think another thing that people don't really that some people need to realize is because, oh well, everything that he did was not a hit. Well, yeah, but like that, you can say that with a lot of people in the business. Like you can say that with a lot of. At least he tried. Like that's the thing I liked about Bray, is the fact of he always wanted to change things up. It's like the same thing with The Undertaker. The Undertaker always changed his look as well. It could be a simple thing like his hair is a different style, or he changed the color of his gloves, he changed the color of his hat, like all this type of stuff where he just changed like little things. And when he always came back from a hiatus, he always did something to change the character.
Yep.
And that is an invaluable instinct and intellect for the industry that not many people, because some people have been able to live off one gimmick their entire career, brother. But it's very hard. And people, well, what about when he was Hollywood? Well, it was kind of Hogan. Hollywood was really the same. It was just Hulk Hogan except heel, right? It was still he still did the same promo cadence, same ring. It's like, all right, But the thing with Bray is he always changed things up. He changed up the look. He had different masks. He had different outfits. He had different, and it all kind of led to the same thing. The lantern was always there. The work was always the same. Move set was always there, but you always felt, and I always felt this about Bray, he always had a great beginning with his run, and then there would be a misstep that would happen, not by any fault of his own. Either he would have an injury, or like the matchup he had with Taker at WrestleMania 31. I thought it was going to be a lot better, but apparently he came in with a really bad ankle injury, which kind of hampered him in the ring. He shouldn't have lost to John Cena at WrestleMania 30. It should have went the other way around. Were able, but to give them credit, they did at WrestleMania, I think 36. They were able to change that with the Firefly Funhouse match, which that was finding more information out about that, of just like how the fact they did that in 2 days.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah, you would have thought how
that was
scripted.
That was a masterpiece. That match was a masterpiece, a cinematic masterpiece for pro wrestling, and that's actually one of my favorite matches of the weekend. The Boneyard match. And it was so funny because it's like, this is completely against what WWE usually does, but during COVID they had to do just completely different shit, and that's why I love both those matches. But yeah, like the fact they did that in 2 days, I was just like, and they had no idea. Cena came in and he's just like, so what are we doing? They're just like, we have no idea. He's like, awesome! Like,
yeah. I mean, listen, like at the end of the day, like you said, the fact that they put that together in 2 days is just crazy. For how scripted it was and for all the stuff that they put into that, 2 days is not a lot of time to do all that stuff.
But to give them credit, they were able to pull it off.
Yeah.
It really was it really was a hard watch because you're seeing his widow talking. Bo Dallas, of course, he's taking it hard.
Oh yeah.
And it's been just over 6 months. So for a lot of these guys, it's still fresh.
Yep.
This isn't like a post mortem of 5 years ago or 10 years ago. This is less than a year. I mean, and Joe, especially you're talking about someone who's a young man, just turned, I think, 36 when this happened.
I believe so.
It's very hard talking about, and I thought, because we talked about this earlier in a Pro Wrestling World episode after this first happened, because it was around the same time that Terry Funk passed away, and I said
It was, yeah.
I think the hardest part that I have with Bray being gone is the fact of not what he could do currently, because I feel like what he's already done currently will stand the test of time, but it's what he will not be able to contribute when he's retired. Because I always thought he would be an exceptional creative writer, an exceptional producer for that company, and being also able to develop talent, and because everybody loved him, he was a beloved figure backstage. It was one of those documentaries where you knew the ending. You knew the ending was going to be rough, but also you didn't know how rough it was going to be, because you're seeing his kids and you're just like, shit, they look just like him.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, my eyes getting a little watery. It was a tough watch, but I'm glad I watched it because it did kind of give me a new perspective on him as a person and him as a character. It was a rough watch because it was very sad. Like, it's just how everything ended was very sad. And then you wonder, you're also kind of pissed off at yourself because Triple H knew what he had with him. I don't think Vince did.
Oh, Vince didn't.
And then Triple H takes over and brings him back, and then within a year of being brought back, he's gone.
Yep.
So you're like, shit. So Mac, what was your opinion?
No, I am right there. I am right there with you with the emotional affect, so to speak, that it was a tough watch. If you look at, just even the start, it was kind of funny how he had gone from playing college ball to kind of not getting as much playing time to seeing that Bo Dallas had gone to FCW, and then he shows up and he's like, I want to do it with you. To go from something like that to this, it was pretty crazy, the journey. But even with how crazy the journey was, you could see how much he was loved, whether it be by his family, whether it be by fans, other loved ones, people that just kind of interacted with him. He gave a shit. He did. You saw it with the interactions with the fans that they put into this documentary. That, again, like, he gave a shit. He just, all right, cool, man. How you doing? What's up?
Big scary monster heel, but yet at the same time, complete goddamn teddy bear when he's in front of his fans and kids especially. Like, every video that you saw, you're just like, God, he was just such a good soul. Like, his people would have been creeped out with, especially the dude like kissed his hand. I would have been like, ah. But
yeah.
That would have been me personally. But here he is. He's just taking it and just like,
okay, man.
And just accepting it and just loving the admiration that he got. Which there's a lot of talent out there that some of them just don't know how to adjust to fame, and they don't know how to handle something like that. But he did, and it shows you what an exceptional talent that he was to be able to kind of relate to the audience.
I wouldn't
Sorry to
even
cut you
say
off.
no. It's a good point to bring up. I wouldn't even say as a talent. I would say as a human being. Just being honest. There's a lot of people out there that are just not good people. Whether there's fame involved or not, it's just the facts. Like there are people out there, especially this day and age, that are just not good people. And to see this guy who does have that fame and uses it and wields it in such a way that he is both caring and respectful both to his family and to his fans. He doesn't let that change who he is. It was tough just watching that, even to kind of see that, and that interaction with the fans, with his family, with his kids, as you said too, and then to just know that he's not going to be there the next day. He's not going to be back in the ring. He's not going to be producing these segments anymore. He's not going to be that, whether it be a creative writer, period, or for WWE, he's not going to be able to do that. And that did make it a lot tougher. I will also say that watching the funeral parts were especially tough. Not only for the fact that Bo Dallas is very, very emotional at the funeral, also as he's talking, but also just the support that came, right? Like, you saw a lot of people that we all recognize. Taker was there with Michelle McCool. Triple H was there with Stephanie. There are other legends that came too. I don't remember everybody that was there, obviously, but those were the big ones that stuck out to me. But there are other ones too. And he had a lot of love and support, and I'm pretty sure I saw Alexa there too.
Yes.
And, she loved working with him. And, again, the other thing is not only did I gain a new perspective of all of this, but I got a lot of respect for the guy afterwards too. Was he always the best in the ring? You kind of alluded to this. No, he wasn't, and sometimes there were limitations. I thought he came back looking very good, though.
He did.
You could tell that he was still probably not in the best shape at the time, and still had his limitations that he always was going to have, but he still came out looking pretty good. The way they closed it, I don't know if I would have showed the outfit. That was the one thing that I was kind of like, the new Fiend outfit, as it were, that he was working on when he was sick with COVID.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would have showed that. Just because if you bring Uncle Howdy back, you can bring him in that, and it would have been a nice surprise. And then they could do it after, is to explain, like, hey, this would have been his final costume had he, survived, lived, whatever. But overall, I thought this was a very good documentary.
I think it's going to be a lot hard. It's going to be hard for them to kind of bring in an Uncle Howdy character or anything in that universe really that's tied to him that people understand where it's from. Because of the fact that it's not like you can bring them in as a heel, because people are going to be like, oh, they're going to have sympathy. But like if Bo is Uncle Howdy, people are going to have sympathy because they're going to be like, oh, he lost his brother. And that's, and I think that's going to, it might have and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing either, because I think that, I don't know. I honestly think, and this is just coming from me, that if Bo Dallas wants to have a career maybe him coming back as that Bo Leave character might have some kind of weight to it. Because I feel like he's going to be able to be a sympathetic babyface now because of his brother. And then also, I think people might be able to get behind him because of that. I don't know. A part of me thinks that Bo Dallas might be done, period, because it's like, whenever you perform, you might start thinking about your brother, and that might be hard because some of your best times in the ring has been with him, and you started to get, it's like, I don't know, like, because I really got that. I really felt bad kind of for him because he really has, I think, taken this really hard, which obviously I think a lot of people, anybody in that situation would.
Right.
But you could just tell that I feel like that on another level for him, it's just that it really kind of shook him up.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I don't know if he'd want to continue with this at all. I wouldn't blame him if he did, and I wouldn't blame him if he wanted to come back and kind of just continue on the legacy. So it'll be interesting to kind of see where he goes from here. But I think you're right. I kind of didn't want to see that new Fiend outfit, unless it was official that Bo wasn't going to come back in any manner of Uncle Howdy or anything like that.
Right.
So that way it's like, okay. And then maybe you unveil it at like the Hall of Fame induction inevitably when he gets inducted.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
that like kind of like what they did with The Undertaker. I don't know. I think that's my 2 cents on that one. But I thought it was very well made. It was cool with Taker as the narrator for once.
Yeah, absolutely.
It added a nice touch.
The
But
after credits where he toasted it with the whiskey and stuff was pretty cool too.
figured he'd give up that Jack Daniels by now. Jesus, Mark.
Nah, I don't think he's ever gonna give it up, bro.
Nah, he ain't giving that up. It's like, no. But, I thought it was cool. I thought it was well done. And it definitely kind of gave me a new perspective and a new kind of respect for him. So I think from that standpoint, because there were times with Bray where it was like, I don't know if it was his booking, because I'm just like, yeah, this is really good. And then another week I'd be like, this doesn't have the same effect. But I just think that under Vince McMahon, he just didn't know how to book him. So I think that was kind of the difficulty and the drawback there. So I think Triple H would have definitely got something more out of him.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But switching gears to our tribal chief, how did you feel about the biography of Roman Reigns on AE?
Well, he's always had I've always defended Roman, probably since like 2017. I was telling people, I'm like, look, there's something here. I don't know what, but there's something here. And it was difficult. I just felt I kept telling people, I'm like, he's not a natural baby face. They need to do something other than that. Like, they got to. And then when he started with the tribal chief character, and I got reminded of things like the Jey Uso feud with the I Quit match in Hell in a Cell, like when he started crying, like certain moments, I just got reminded of him, just like, God damn it, this is some great stuff. Like he was doing stuff in 2000 that was excellent. Like, you just start in 2020 that was excellent. You just start reminding yourself of like, God damn how good this guy is.
Yep.
It was when he was in the warehouse making the office furniture, and his dad comes in and just says, "You're really going to make office furniture your whole life? Just put together office chairs?" And he didn't have a good answer. And then he just picked it and then he just took him down to Tampa and just said, "Here you go." And then he got in, and because that's what he felt like that was the path that life was going to take him, because really he wanted to get in the NFL. And then when he got sick with leukemia the first time, that wasn't really going to happen.
Right.
And he went another route, and luckily has been able to, one of my favorite quotes in life and ever that I got from that, and I had to replay it, and I turned it up, was, "I'm just a young man addicted to greatness."
Yep.
I don't think I've laughed harder in my life. Like, it was just one of those comments that's just like, you're right, tribal chief. You're right. You are addicted to greatness.
It really was, and it's so funny that I laugh too. That's why I'm laughing. It made me pop too. But if you look at what the guy has done in his career, especially in the last 3-4 years, it's hard to disagree.
I if I was to assess my favorite WWE champions, I wouldn't say, even though I would put him in my, hey, is he top 10? He's getting close. He's probably in the top 15, maybe even top 12, maybe. But if I was to assess like my favorite WWE champions, he would be in that probably top 5, top 6 categories. Just because of, especially the work that he's done in the last 3.5 years with this title reign of just he brought that championship back to just complete relevancy. If it wasn't for him coming back with this character, I'd perish the thought where the industry would have been in the last 3.5 years. He's left it in a better place. I think this biography came out at the right time because I think people probably watched this and then they went into WrestleMania and they were just thinking, yeah, we know you're probably going to lose, but at the same time, you've earned our respect, which is also part of the reason why I think it's going to be an epic return for him when he comes back. He's this massive baby face because I think he's earned the right and he's earned the respect of the fan base now, where it's just like, yeah, we're fully behind you, Tribal Chief.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I know this whole thing with Solo, and people are like, "Oh, Solo's gonna get the title, and Roman's gonna get it back from him," and I'm like, that's not fucking happening.
No,
Solo's not in the main event. It's gonna be The Rock. It's
probably
100% gonna be The Rock. He's gonna get it off Cody, and then Roman's gonna win it back as the babyface. It's just,
yeah.
let's be real. Like, after this and after Mania, and going with what we discussed earlier with that whole bloodline versus bloodline thing, it's going to trend in a direction like that. And it just makes sense having him come back as this big baby face. And it's really funny that it's taken them this long to figure out that you needed Roman to be a heel in order to make a babyface. You couldn't push him as a babyface, and this documentary showed that, which I thought was just incredibly important, because this time next year we're going to talk about how Roman Reigns is such a big epping babyface.
Yeah, we are. And then we're just going to be like, oh, well, this is why. Like, yeah. And this is the exact direction that they should have done years ago, which I think would have been able to get you to where you wanted to be. Now, I've always questioned Vince McMahon's thought process over the last 10 to 15 years. Like, there's been moments I've just been like, oh my God, just please retire. Thankfully, he did. And I was questioning at first his thought process on Roman Reigns. I'm like, why do you think that this guy... But in the long run, he was right. He was just presenting him in the wrong fashion.
Yeah.
And the fact is that under Paul Heyman's direction, like, my God, like, he has just been this... the way that everybody was talking about him yesterday, glowingly. I mean, John Cena has talked about him also and saying that, and John Cena can make an argument that, yeah, he was a great champion, but the problem was is that when he was the champion, the business wasn't as healthy as it is now. Like, the business now is just unbelievably thriving, and probably the highest it's been relevancy in pop culture, and the fact that he's created this island of relevancy in pop culture.
Yeah.
You can sit there now and say he's probably made the industry more mainstream than it has ever been since the early 2000s. And it's been on his back in his thought process. And it's been also why that, yeah, you can make an argument that his championship reign the last 2 years was the last 1.5 to 2 years was very sporadic as far as title defenses were concerned. But at the same time, he defended the title, and the ratings didn't go down. And every time he was on TV, the ratings spiked up. Some of the biggest traffic that they ever had on social media was involving him and all of his stuff that he was doing. So from that perspective, I couldn't really argue with him holding the title that as long as he was, even though he wasn't defending him the title every single month on pay-per-view. It was hard for me to argue all that because business really didn't go down. And the fact is that when he was champion, he's the business reason went up. He's the reason why business went up. So from that, I couldn't really argue with him holding the title as long as he did. And why, because it was still successful. It still maintained business. And the fact that he pretty much said, if I'm not on top, if I'm not in like the A position, I'm going to go home. He built up enough credibility to say, fuck it. And that's what he did.
Yeah.
And he talked about how early in his career in 2014, 2015, 2016, he had to say yes because he was still like the young puppy and like he had to show, hey, like I'm willing to do whatever it takes. And then it just got to a point of, well, there's nobody else that's as credible as me. And I found out a few years ago, it got printed recently, that were trying to push him out in the talk show circuit like 10 years ago, and it wouldn't work. They'd be like, can you give us like Cena or The Undertaker? And they'd be like, no, how about Roman Reigns? They'd be like, we don't want him. They didn't want him because nobody cared.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, he wins he starts with the Tribal Chief character, and then within the last 3.5 years, he's done the Tonight Show like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. They have him on like every year, basically around WrestleMania, and then a couple other random appearances.
So they said no to him a decade ago, but then all of a sudden he turned heel, and they want him to do the Tonight Show, and I think they realized at this point that it's like it doesn't matter if they're a babyface or a heel, as long as people are watching, they'll still put them on. They'll still put them on fucking like the Today Show and the Tonight Show. I mean, what was it? Cody won the title, then he was on Today the next day.
Yeah.
Like it was, even though he could go from Philadelphia to New York, really no problem. That's a quick air flight. Mm-hmm. But still at the same time, it's just, that's a long fucking deal. It's like, oh, you win the title and then you're partying probably till 2:00 in the morning. Oh, great, I got to do NBC at 7 a.m. Fuck me.
Whatever, man. Like, he is a bus. You got a bus driver. Just hop on the bus. Whatever.
That's true.
And you think Brandy let him out for a party after that anyways? You got the Today Show tomorrow.
But he finished his story.
But you still got the Today Show tomorrow.
I finished my story, though.
Okay.
Why?
Okay, Grandpa.
I just want a drink.
Okay, Grandpa, get back on the bus. Yeah, no.
Flair was champion, though. God, sorry.
Oh, God, yeah, you're right. That no question. Flair staying out all night. No, this documentary was just really, really good. I'm glad they kept the detail of how everybody hated him. Like I thought it was very important to speak to that because everybody did. And to your point, like he was not the sought after guy that he is now. Everybody likes to say like, oh well, he earned it. And it's like, yeah, he fucking did. He fucking did. Like, and the argument about, oh well, Roman's not wrestling for like 12 months, and it's just like, okay, well, first of all, I know there's those people out there that don't see that even that is part of kayfabe.
Right.
And they're like, oh, it's all Roman's fault. He doesn't wrestle. It's like, no, that's how they're booking him now. Like, let's be real. Yes, there is a portion, of that might be a little bit of kayfabe because he signed a new contract that requires him to work less dates. He's also earned that too. But if they want to book him as champion, they're going to book him as champion. And who during that time period could have really been better to do it with?
John Cena will probably be the last real kind of blue collar champion ever. And I'll say that because Cena was on every fucking show possible. Mind you, that did create fatigue with the audience. Trust me, it created fucking fatigue.
I'm raising my hand right now, even though you can't see it.
I know. But like it created fatigue with the audience, but at the same time, he never missed a shot. Always there. He was Mr. Reliable. And that's somebody you want. But the industry changed in the sense, but also from the point with Cena was too, he didn't have kids. You know, he had his wife that he got divorced from. It was the Nikki Bella situation that didn't turn into anything. But
well, because she wanted kids and he did not.
Yeah, and he was just like, no. But he kept going. When he kept going, he went for a long time before he finally took off to Hollywood and finally getting start there. Which I've always respected about Cena, but even though it annoyed me, I still respected the fact that it was just like, yeah, that guy made every shot for how long, like that. I always kind of had to tip my hat to him. And Roman kind of is the first guy that can sit there and say too that he's going to create a lighter workload for future champions too, because now they can have the blueprint to say, I don't need to do this. I can say no, like, because Roman had the same thing. But also it's going to be a lighter work rate because the fact that you're not wrestling 200 to 300 dates anymore. You're not going to be wrestling 200 dates a year anymore. You're going to be maybe 150, maybe 125, if that. Like, the house shows are cut in half. The TV is what it is, but that's probably only like one day a week, maybe an occasional special. And then you got PLEs. So your dates, and you're probably not going to make every TV because they might not book you for every TV. They might be like, oh, you just shoot something for this, you know. So there's ways you're going to be able to get around it. You might have to work the European tour, but you're not going to be doing 200, 300 days a year anymore. You're not going to have the Hogan schedule, the Bret Hart schedule, the Shawn Michaels schedule, all these guys and they burn themselves out. And they've realized too that because a lot of those guys that work that schedule are no longer around. Not just in the ring, but in life in general. It killed a lot of guys.
Cody
Put them
Rhodes
in the
has
ground.
joined the chat.
Who was that?
Cody Rhodes has joined the chat.
No, I know. He'll be able to. He'll be a workman, like, but he's not going to be doing 200 to 300 days, like, because nobody does that anymore. Those days are over.
I mean, he was running like a lot of dates though. He wasn't be wrestling every single appearance or date, but I mean, if you look at the appearances, 2023, I think he had the most amount of matches out of anybody.
Right.
There.
No, that's true. He did, but I don't even think it went to I don't think it hit 150.
I think it hit over 100. I don't remember the exact number.
Right, but if we're looking at the dates between 10 years ago and now,
oh yeah, way different.
It's literally in half.
Yeah.
Because they were running 4 house shows a week and then the TVs.
Yeah.
Now it's maybe 2 house shows a week and then TVs. So and then the European dates and all that stuff. But yeah, that's stuff that can be worked out. that stuff. I think, but I think Cody's going to be another guy that's going to be. He's going to be a workhorse. He's going to be there all the time. Same thing with Seth Rollins too. But it's not like it was before. It's not 200,
No,
300 dates a
Yeah.
year. So from that perspective is what I'm thinking about, because it's not as heavy as it used to be.
No, it's definitely not. It's heavy, but it's definitely not what it was 15, 20 years ago either, for that matter. It's those were days where it's just like they're on the road pretty much all the time. And I know obviously for some of them that's why they get the buses and stuff, because they do want to still do house shows, but even at that point, you're still talking 2-3 matches a week, depending. Not like 5. That's you're gonna kill them at that point.
Right.
But I again, like I feel like a guy like Roman, who has been bred roughshod for a long time, has earned that. He's earned the right to say, "Hey, listen, I don't want to do as many house shows, if any at all." He's earned the right to be like, "Hey, listen, I have to worry about my health too. I got to worry about my family too. I want to work less dates, period. I might want to work 10 days a month. I might want to work 1 day a month." And he's earned that. He's absolutely.
I got to go do this movie with Keanu Reeves.
Yeah. Yeah. But, he for honesty, he really has earned it. And I mean, you could make the argument that there are other guys there that have earned it too, but might not want to do it. I feel like as the reins of time is going to work on some of these guys, they're going to have to. I don't think they have the same age problem that AEW has, so to speak, but you have guys that are past 40 that are still there.
Yes.
So just to rattle off some of them, R-Truth is in his 50s.
Yes.
Miz is in his 40s.
Yes.
LA Knight, AJ Styles.
Styles.
Yep, that was the next one I was thinking of too. And there are a couple other ones too. Damian Priest, 42, I believe.
Yes.
Or 41, 42. Finn Balor, 40s as well.
Yep.
And there are a couple other ones that I just can't remember off the top of my head. I think.
And then Cody and Seth are both pushing 40.
Yep. I believe
Roman's
both are
pushing
38.
40.
I believe they're all 37, 38.
Yeah.
You have other guys. I forgot about Rey Mysterio too. He's definitely up there.
He's pushing 50.
Yeah. And there are other guys on the cusp of 40s as well, and girls too. Becky's very close to 40 as well, I believe. I think she's 36. So you have a lot of talent that you could bring up from NXT, which I think is the whole thing that they're starting to understand. Like, might want to start doing that now.
And free agency is always in play.
Oh, absolutely. KO and Sammy, I think, are pushing 40 as well.
Yes, they are.
It's just, is it an age problem? No, because a lot of that is not made in that talent. Some of them excuse me, some of them are. You can tell it's getting late when I start jumbling my words as much as I am right now. But, yeah, you have a lot of these guys that it's maybe not a huge issue right now, but if you look at some of them, like the Romans, like the Rollins, like the Rhodes, ironically all 3 R's, and you look at it from the perspective like, shit, is it something where we need to kind of maybe downgrade them to not have them wrestle as much? But then you look at guys that are even older that are going still strong. I know it's something that we've talked about on other platforms before, but I remember talking about it a while ago and reading about it just recently as well after WrestleMania. And Cody said he would stop at 40. And he finally came out recently.
His contract will not allow that.
Yeah, contract will not allow that now. But he actually came out and said, yeah, my contract's longer now. And I know I said 40, but I'm going to keep going because I still feel good. And he's like, if I ever get to a point where I don't feel good, And whether it be from the, health perspective or just looking good in the ring as well, I'm pretty sure he mentioned both. He's like, then I'll stop. But for right now, no, I don't need to. And I think he also said part of that statement was that he, oh man, what did he say? He said something basically like, I hit my groove late. Something like that. Whether it's the main event groove or just, being at a certain point in the ring with his talent, so to speak, those could be open for debate. But I mean, whichever one you decide, it's still the same thing. Still correct.
Well, I think that he's, and that's a very accurate statement that he said in the sense of, I hit my groove late. And that's not a bad thing because a lot of guys in the wrestling business, they tend to, especially the major championships, they tend to go, the world titles, they tend to go to someone that might be in their late 30s, entering 40s, just because of the fact that they know at that point that it's very few times that I've seen somebody in their 20s or early to like mid 30s that I saw them get like a decent run. I mean, I think Bret Hart was 35 when he won his first championship. Hogan was 31. Like it's always like 30s that sometimes, especially in the 80s, 90s, that these guys were winning the titles. It's very rare that somebody in their 20s actually wins it. So winning the title in your late 30s, I don't think is a bad thing, because in the wrestling business, you could still keep going in your mid to late 40s if you wanted to, early 50s if you work a certain style and able to pace yourself. WWE, it's not an indie style. It's not you're going to be going a mile a minute. You can milk things, right? You can be able to catch your breath.
Yep.
So I think from that perspective, that you're able to extend your career a lot longer. So not if you're win your first championship at 38, your first world title. I don't think it's a bad thing. And people are just like, well, his window is going to be short. Not necessarily. He could still be good for another 5 to 10 years. We don't know. So.
I don't know about 5 to 10, but definitely.
Randy Orton thinks he can go another 10 years. He's 44 years old.
Well, Randy Orton is a freak. I mean, listen, when he came back at Survivor Series and seeing the shape that he was in, I wouldn't put it past him.
Well, Ric Flair fought Vader in one of the damnedest matches I've ever seen at Starrcade 93, and he was 44 at that point. When he fought Hulk Hogan in 1994, some of the biggest matches of his career at that point in WCW's, he was already at 45. And I always thought Flair's real prime probably didn't end until 99, 2000, so between 50 and 51. So I don't think that it's too far off with some of these guys that if they wanted to go into their late 40s, early 50s, they'd be able to do it. Especially now with the modern training regiments and all that stuff, they can keep these guys going as long as they want. Again, the schedule is not like it was before. I mean, the fact that Ric Flair was able to work that schedule and of him working every single day, 365 wrestling hour Broadways for how long that he did is absolutely ridiculous. I don't think but that schedule is non-existent anymore. Like that'll never happen again. And the fact that he was able to do it for as long as he did is just, man's a freak. Like, but it's never, that is never something that is going to have to be like brought up again. Like that's never something that people are going to be sitting there and saying, well, he's not like Flair. No one's going to be like Flair. Like no one's going to be having that 350-day year schedule where it's like, well, I got to work on Christmas.
Well, nobody in WWE anyways.
Yes.
Those other places we don't know about.
Santa Con, maybe. I don't know.
Santa Con. Jesus Christ. On that note, do you have any closing thoughts that we didn't get through today?
Not really. It's been one of those weeks of just like, especially too with my cold. It's like, I didn't want to, because my lovely fiance brought it up. She's just like, you really want to do the show tonight? I said, I have to. I said,
Except you didn't. You could have just like said, hey, let's do it another day.
Oh, I could have, but like I like I also want to be able to keep the schedule. I think for everybody, because who knows, there are people maybe that are expecting and also excited for our episodes when they come out. So maybe because they like to hear our beautiful voices and our beautiful opinions on this great thing of professional wrestling. Oh, I will say one thing. The whole state of Oklahoma and AEW thing. Just number one, Oklahoma. Why?
Boomer Sooner.
Why is it's just this? AEW is not going to go back there again. Like they're never going to go there again. That's going to be on their list now. We're never going back because you have to make this thing that again is entertainment. It's not a sport, but you have to let them know that this is a law for sports and not sports entertainment.
So hold on real quick. I don't disagree. That's first and foremost. But a lot of those states have athletic commissions. Yep.
Yes.
That it does fall under, unfortunately. And
yes,
because I agree with you otherwise, and I don't think you're wrong. It's just because of that. And I remember Rey Mysterio talking about this, that he had to get licensed when it was in Mexico. And I don't think it's to that level here in the States, and probably not in Oklahoma, but like if it was something that they knew they had to deal with, they should have just done the proper disclosures. But go ahead. Sorry.
Or just not book her that way.
Or just not book her, yeah.
Like, it's just, why are you drawing a... If you know that this thing is a thing, don't book her. Like, just avoid the situation.
I'm not booked.
Because it's just... Exactly. It's just... Because it draws... I understand that rebel mentality of being like, well, fuck you, it's a dumb rule. Okay. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue that. And because I don't think necessarily that AEW is wrong on this. Because the public stance of it should be, okay, I don't disagree with it. I just think that not them booking. Let me rephrase this. I don't disagree with them pushing it.
Right.
The company of having her booked. I don't disagree with that part of it.
No, I don't either.
But I want people to realize that because there's some people that could construe that I'm disagreeing with. Well, no, I'm disagree. I think that because as a booker, as somebody that's an owner, I would have been like, yeah, you know what? Fuck the state. Let's see what we can do here. Yeah, if they're only going to send me a letter, but the next time I come back, if I want to come back, I won't do it because I'll just prove my point. Maybe you're proving a point, and from that perspective, I respect that and I get it. And so I'm not really anti-AEW on this because sometimes you just want to make a stand where you think that something is bullshit. And if they think something is bullshit, go ahead,
But the thing is, though, that alienates fans, too.
It does. It does because there's a certain fan base still out there that they automatically shit on Nyla Rose because of
That, yeah.
And it's just,
I don't even mean it that way, but you're not wrong to say that. What I also mean though is you alienate the fans that don't want to see that, which I
yeah,
understand and respect, which is what you're driving at with that statement. But you're also alienating the fans of Oklahoma to say, hey, because your state doesn't like this, we're not coming back. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah,
listen, at that point, you need all the fans you can get with how far back they are at number 2.
that's very true. But you also have to look at how they drew in Oklahoma too.
I mean, you could say that about any state they actually go to, but I get you.
Yes. I understand thumbing your nose to it, but I also think that alienating your fans is not something you also want to do.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
You're right. There's both negatives and positives to what they did, in my opinion.
Right.
I think standing by your talent and standing by your locker room is showing balls in that sense. I give him all the respect in the world, and I'm talking about Tony Khan.
Wow. Can I get that in writing?
Yes.
What's today's date? Let me write that down. Shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, as far as standing up for the locker room, I can't appreciate that, and I accept that.
Yep.
And I also just think if there's people out there that are listening and they're just like, Nyla Rose is this, Nyla Rose is that, just shut the fuck up. Like, I don't want to hear it.
If you don't like it, turn it off.
It's just like, I don't want to hear it. Nyla Rose, I think, is a phenomenal talent. She seems like a wicked chill person from what I've seen her on toy vlogs with like Ethan Page and Danhausen. So she seems like a really cool person. I think she's a great in-ring talent. I completely forget about the fact that she transitioned. It shouldn't be a fucking thing. Nobody should. It shouldn't bother you. If you get kept up at night because of this, you need to really evaluate yourself and evaluate your situation in life. Should have no bearing on anything in your life. If anybody makes or feels that this is who they are as a person and they want to go through that and they want to feel that this is what they want to be, then by all means, in this country, you have that ability and the freedom to do that. And I understand you have the freedom to voice your opinion and things of that nature. But as far as this platform is concerned, and I don't want to get hit with the negative comments or anything like that and spammed or whatever. But the fact of the matter is that you need to realize in this country and all across the world that people really don't give a shit if you don't like that or not. Or you're just like, oh, I don't care. I don't care. Nyla Rose is cool shit. Leave her alone.
It's 2024. Peace and love, man. Stop spreading hate.
Exactly. There's enough fucking shit in this planet right now we got to worry about. You think like every other day, I'm just thinking about, well, I wonder what World War III is going to be like. But, you
might not have to wait much longer to find out.
And I'm not talking about the WCW World War III either, folks.
Yeah.
But, it's whatever. The last thing on this planet that I really want to worry about is Nyla Rose is this, Nyla Rose is that. Shut up.
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't care.
It's just the thing, and not to rehash everything you said, but I just agree. I get there's people out there that have thoughts about it, and you're entitled to that, as Dan said, but at the end of the day, it's like spread less hate. Just spread less hate. If you don't have anything good to say, maybe Dan and I just come from a different generation at this point where it's like, you got nothing good to say, then shut the fuck up.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're entitled to your opinion, but sometimes it's better to keep your opinion to yourself and just stop spreading the hatred, the toxicity, the tribalism, all this shit. It's like, we as wrestling fans, we just want to enjoy it. We just want to enjoy it. And tribalism is good for a talking point, but other than that, I don't want to talk about it. I want to watch what I want to watch, whether it's freaking old videos of WCW, WWE's new shit, or the dream of having Adam Copeland versus Okada. Like, just let me think about it. And it doesn't matter what I watch. It doesn't matter what you watch. It doesn't matter what anybody watches. Just let them enjoy it.
Unless you like WWE ECW, then we got problems.
I mean,
Then
you could
we
like
got
it for what it is, but it's not better than old school original ECW.
I'll give you the first 6 months. Like I'll give everybody the first 6 months.
I'll give it infinitely less. It was so
all right, the
bad.
first 3 months. All right, we'll go with that.
When was Vince McMahon ECW champion again? I'm trying to remember.
That was about a year after.
Okay.
Yeah, that was like the following spring.
Yeah.
So,
at that point, I don't care less.
I did like Ric Flair and Big Show, so I think after that, everything just kind of went downhill. But I thought Ric Flair and Big Show for the ECW title was fun, but that was where it stopped for me.
I mean, listen, it had a small window, like I said.
Very small.
Yeah. So, again, like, the first 3 months is probably accurate. After that,
Yeah, exactly. But no, like what you like. You want to bash AEW? I'm fine with it. Okay. But
dude, even if you want to bash WWE or TNA or New Japan, bash what you want to bash. But
exactly.
Once it gets to a certain point, you gotta learn when to shut your trap.
It does. And that's I think what half of the wrestling universe needs to do sometimes. And they also just need to be fucking patient, because it's like Cody Rhodes just won the title and you're already ready to turn on him. It's just like, just shut up.
Yep, let's not get worrying.
No, let's not get worrying, folks.
Oh, man.
I wonder how he's doing. God.
I don't know.
Somebody check on him. It's been 2 years.
I tried to find him, and I just stopped caring after 5 minutes of trying, so I don't know how he's doing. But I'm sure it's all tears in Mom's basement at this point.
Was he a Jets fan too? I think.
Yes, he was.
We were looking at that video. We broke that thing down like the Zapruder film, and we were just looking at him from like every frame by frame. We're just like, oh, and he's a Jets fan. Wow.
I mean, it was very clearly his mom's basement. So I mean,
clearly,
who knows if he is, and just is mom's furniture, so to speak, in the background anyway. So maybe he's not even a.
Let's not get worrying.
Let's not get worrying. You don't need to worry. All you E-drones, don't you just shut up.
E-drones can't get bitches. I'm like, oh my god, I hate him so much.
That line.
Oh, I hate him so much.
Oh my god, yeah.
But I don't know what he cried more about: Cody Rhodes leaving or Aaron Rodgers when he popped his Achilles.
I mean, we stopped paying attention to that channel, even if we knew what the channel was, like, very quickly after that rant, so...
Imagine how he felt after Brawl Out.
Oh, my God.
Imagine how he felt after Brawl In. Like...
Or All Out, even.
Yes.
Can only imagine how that one felt. Oof. Oof. Yeah, make sure that you like the shoot on YouTube as part of Diamond Podcasting Productions. We are looking to add another show at some point, still being worked on, but who knows when that's coming. Also, make sure that you're listening on Pro Wrestling World Talk on Spotify and Apple. And
yes.
Yeah, that has been the shoot / Pro Wrestling World Talks. Dan, you got any other stuff you want to get out before we go?
No. NyQuil is calling my name.
Yeah, I figured.
So.
That's actually why I did the plugs for you. All right, that's the show. Hope everybody had a great time. We'll see you next week.
Good night, everybody.
Who ran?